If there's something Classroom of the Elite has showed me, it's the realism of necessary evil. There's a saying that if you gaze into the abyss will gaze back. And in some regard, that's how you could view someone like Aina Koji, and the extension of all the other monsters in Class D. To succeed and make it to the top, you have to make tough choices. You need to be resilient, strong in will and mind, and sometimes you're born lucky, and you can do everything without even trying. And I think in many ways that applies to Koenji. Koenji undoubtedly is the most free person in Classroom of the Elite. He marches by the beat of his own drum. He doesn't consider anyone but himself, has no attachments to anyone, doesn't even think of those in his class as friends, and by all stretches of the imagination, he's a free market capitalist. Money talks, so he only talks to money. The most essential concept composing the entire system within Classroom of the Elite is points. Private points, and class points. Under Koenji's belief system, everything is about points. There's no affinity to friendship. He only plays ball if he can get something out of it. And in some regard, he's right. Points are the highest priority. By getting the most class points, you can ascend to Class A. With an excessive amount of private points, you can do practically anything. It's like free money. It's inextricably linked to the entire evaluation system in Classroom of the Elite. It's a tough pill to swallow, but you can't save everyone. And in order to succeed, you have to sacrifice those in the process. Now, when it comes to practically everything, Koenji sits on top of this hierarchy. He's rich, good-looking, tall, strong, smart. He has everything going for him, and it's because of these assets that he can do what he wants. He's a wild card, but he's also the ace up Class D's sleeve. He can either do nothing or everything. He's a calculated thinker who maintains his freedom at all cost. And no matter how many times Aina Koji tries to deconstruct Koenji, even he can't get a read on him. He's the closest to his equal as anyone else will ever be. Because he's arrogant and he knows it, no one can talk to him. And that's where someone like Kushida comes to play. Because she can communicate with anyone, she can gain everyone's trust, and she's extremely deceitful. Kushida goes above and beyond to get as much information as possible. Now sure, for the majority of Classroom of the Elite, everything she did was for the purposes of sabotaging Hirokita and Aina Koji. But that doesn't negate her abilities. If anything, it bolsters them. She knows how to balance her good side and dark side. She knows how to manipulate the trust of others and gather information. And information is a very powerful weapon. You could call it unethical, but she's just doing what others refuse to do. And if these assets are used in the right hands, she will be an indispensable weapon that will help everyone reach Class A. Kushida doesn't care about others, she only cares about herself. She will only do things to benefit herself. And if Class A is within her list of goals, she will do the unthinkable in order to ascend higher. She can rally everyone together just like she can destroy them. We then have the balancer between these acts, Hirata. And he's a very interesting character because he's guided by his moral compass. He treats everyone fairly. He treats everyone equally. Everything he does is for the benefit of the class. In tandem with his warm and charming personality that every girl is attached to, he's also well liked by his seniors and juniors. He's athletic, academically capable, and has great communication skills. His only flaw is that when the pressure hits, it's hard for him to deal with. In the past, his failures brought the detriment to one of his closest friends, and it continues to haunt him. But he's trying to grow past that and become more capable, and it shows. With that same token, he wanders into the moral gray. It was a hard route to walk, but he came to understand that he can't save everyone. Sacrifices must be made. People must be lost. There's a reason why everyone looks up to him as one of the leaders of the class. And Hirokita is right next to him. Hirokita is by far the most capable person in the class, and she's also the one that's grown the most. Hirokita has always excelled within academics and physical capabilities. She's willing to make those tough decisions, sacrifices, and she leads with an iron head. She's headstrong and strong-willed and refuses to crack under the pressure. pressure. However, her communication skills needed a lot of work. Entering the class, she isolated herself from everyone. She justified her actions, thinking that everyone was beneath her. But in order to be a leader, you have to understand that there's things you can't do all on your own. It took a long time for her to understand that. However, when she came to terms with her own weaknesses, she was able to see the assets within others. Hirokita has become more confident. That's made her a better leader and much more dangerous for the other classes. Everyone here is a genius in their own right, but they all pale in comparison to Aina Koji. And that's because Aina Koji, through his tragic upbringing, has learned to detach himself from his circumstances. Aina Koji was the demon who stood at the top of the White Room. He was labeled the perfect human, a monster within monsters. For him, everything is like a game of chess. After you make your first move, Aina Koji is already at checkmate. He's a perfect counter to everyone in Classroom of the Elite. Everyone is his foil. Aina Koji is the true embodiment of necessary evil. People call him a monster, but that's just because he's the only one willing to make the evil choices. Many times, concepts of good and evil are all a matter of perspective. And when it all hits the fan, it's only Aina Koji who has the ability to cut down his classmates, even cut down those he calls friends. He doesn't see anyone as his allies, just his puppets. And perhaps it's all just a tragedy from his experiences in the White Room, where the emotional attachments he made simply pained him in the process. He stood at the top alone, in many situations akin to the survival of the fittest, because Aina Koji had to cut down more people than he cares to count. And it's those circumstances that made him a cold-hearted monster. He views the world through this lens of realistic nihilism, and that simply made him numb to everything. In the opening and ending of Classroom of the Elite Season 2, there's a butterfly that floats around. Aina Koji is that butterfly, someone people can only catch a glimpse of, but never revealing everything he has to offer. And it's because of that fact that he's the Demon King in a class full of monsters.